So when I went to the hospital, the doctor asked me, are you pregnant? And I said, no. But Carol, even if I had been very sure I'm pregnant, I would never have said yes. I would never have said I'm pregnant.
The same thing also happened to me.
How?
And at 18, which
Wow.
is really crazy, because you remember we were talking about it.
Yeah, you told me you were 22.
I was 20. I always said I was 22. That is the story I told everyone when I was at that point when I could speak about it. And I told it so often that I believed it myself.
And this is why I got a very complicated relationship to church. Even today, I don't go to church. I only go to church to sing. And I also don't respect people just because they're pastors. I respect people because of what they say and what they do. Because I am so grateful that I came to this country. Because if I had not come here, I would have lived with shame, thinking I'm the worst person who ever did the worst in this world.
This has gotten deeper than we
Yeah.
intended for it to be. But I think it was necessary for us to talk about that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Far From Home Diaspora Conversations. This is your host, Wambui, and
Carol.
And we're really glad that you've tuned in again. We appreciate you for the love, for the likes, for your comments, even for the questions that you've asked us. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. And we also want to appreciate our sponsors, TEDx Media, for powering this podcast. We want to thank them for their trust. And we will be telling you more about TEDx Media as we go on in our podcast.
Oh, thank you. And thank you also from me, because you guys are just amazing how you've been receiving our podcasts. We are so humbled by your love and all the comments. And thank you. Thank you. Continue sharing it with your families. Continue, just subscribing, give us some love.
Yeah, give us some love.
Yeah.
More love.
Yeah, more love.
Yeah.
So today in this episode, we have a topic that actually came up after talking to Joy Wendo. Have you seen the episode with Joy Wendo? It was fantastic. So if you haven't watched that, go and watch it. And during that episode, Wambui said something that did not shock me, but I was not prepared for it. And this is what happens in this podcast. Things are coming out that we were not prepared to talk about or not consciously ready to put out there. But in the course of the flow of the conversation, some things just pop out. And that is what we said we'll be doing. We'll let everything flow. We are not censoring anything. So when we feel like we are ready to talk about things, or when things come up and we feel like we are ready to talk about them, we talk about them. And this is about pregnancy. So, boy, I think if you go back and watch that episode, you'll notice that when Wambui said that about the pregnancy, I paused for a minute because my head could not process that information. Like, how am I supposed to deal with this now? Because it was Wendo's story and we did not want to take anything away from that. So I was like, oh, do I ignore Wambui's statement now? Do I just go on like nothing happened? And that is why we decided to talk about this now. So what prompted you to say that? Because it wasn't part of the whole thing.
No, it wasn't. I was also, a few years ago, I would never, ever have thrown that in just like that. My story about pregnancy will never have been just thrown in as a part of a conversation because I kept it a secret because it was so shameful for me. So me just throwing this in this conversation shows me several things. One, that this space is safe.
Okay.
That my system felt safe at that moment to say this because I don't always feel safe about some things. And also because Wendo sharing her story also made me feel, it opened my heart I identified with her pain. I identified with what she was saying. And when she was telling us that story, I could really feel it because it's exactly what I felt. And I think it's part of this diaspora thing that one person says something and I really identify with this story. And I've come to appreciate the power of identification.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
this story, I always thought it's my story alone. This is
Yeah.
why it was full of shame. But once I share it and someone else says, me too,
Me too.
it's no longer full of shame.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
realize, okay, this is another story that someone else also has. So this is, I think, why it just came up. And also at that thing, it shows me what a healing process that has been. I think I have healed from it. And I did not know.
To be able to talk about it.
To be able to talk about it. It's like when you have a headache, you have a bad headache, and you don't realize the point when it stops. At some point, you realize
you just don't have
it's
it.
gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And for me,
That's
this was
true.
this sign. The shame is gone. Yes.
Is it really gone?
Of being able to talk about it, it must be gone because otherwise I wouldn't have talked about it.
Okay.
I am not ashamed of myself anymore. I'm not.
Are you ashamed
that I
of,
was pregnant.
of what you did? Yeah, we'll go back to that. But are you ashamed of what you did? Not ashamed of yourself now, but the act itself of being pregnant. Because Wendo at that time was talking about shame and, getting pregnant and coming from a pastor family and not being able to tell the parents. So that is where the shame was coming from. And I think that is where you also you identified with her story because there was also a lot of religious things involved in it. So are you saying the shame is completely gone, or are you okay with yourself now and you don't feel like you're ashamed of who you are now and not the act? Are you getting me? And not the act of what you did. Does that remain shameful, but you're not ashamed of yourself now?
Yes, maybe that way.
Yeah,
The act remains shameful
That's
in
what I
that
mean.
context.
Yeah, yeah.
But not me now. But this was both. This used to be both. I was ashamed of this me, that I had not allowed this me to have this kind of a story. But I've come to a point where I allow this me right now to have that story. It's part of my story.
Part of your story.
And it's 100% okay.
Yeah.
I've come there, yes.
Do you wish to let us in on that story?
Yes, I will let you in on that story. Yesterday I talked to my mom and she told me she's listening to the podcast. And she was proud. She was proud of this podcast.
Wow.
And
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It touches me that she goes to watch that podcast. But as soon as she said that, because you and I had already said we're going to have this story.
Yeah, yeah.
As soon as she said that, I thought about that story and I asked myself, am I still going to tell the story? And this is where I see, where is the shame? It's not in me. It's who is going to listen.
Yeah.
So I will let you in on this story with the knowledge that it's not an easy story for me to tell.
Especially thinking that your mother would be listening.
That my mother will be listening, that my siblings will be listening. But still I'm taking this active point to tell the story. I'm consciously deciding to tell it regardless of the consequences that might come with it. Because as I say, it's part of me now. And I accept that fully.
You own this story.
I own the story. Yeah. And I own the telling now, which is the amazing part of it. Because people talked about the story, but I didn't own it. So I could not control what people were saying. But now I can control what I say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did it happen?
So what happened was I got pregnant when I was 19. And the story before that was I had finished high school and I came home and I didn't really know what to do with my life. Before that, I had never had a boyfriend. I had never had sex in my life. I had never explored my sexuality. And I was very ashamed of my own sexuality. Or let me say, because of how I grew up in church. I grew up fasting, and I grew up knowing that my sexuality is bad. Even thinking about it was a sin. So I
That's
grew
what
up.
you were told in church. Yeah.
This is what I was told in church. And I remember I used to read these books, Mills and Boons, and I used to hide them because all Mills and Boons stories, they had a sex part. And I was very interested in those parts, but I did not want anyone to know.
You were
that I was
interested in the
reading this.
juicy
Yes.
sexual parts of the book.
Yes.
Yes.
I was really interested in knowing how they were how they were having sex, how this felt.
Which is
But-
normal.
Which is normal
Which
because
is
I was
normal.
growing. My
Yeah.
body was growing, and
Yeah.
my body
Yeah.
was I am a sexual being.
Yes.
We
All
are
of us
all
are.
sexual beings.
Yeah.
So sex is as part of me as eating, as
As breathing, as
Exactly. And I grew up being told, separate this evil part from yourself because it's not good.
So sex is evil.
So sex is evil. So even when I came to a point where I had sex, and I'm not going to go into too much of that story of the sex part, it was not something that, like the way I'm saying I'm owning this story now, it's not a part that I owned. I did not own this act in itself. I felt like, okay, he wants to have sex, let's have sex. But it was not a point of, I am deciding now I'm going to have sex.
It was not a pleasurable act?
No.
Or why? Okay.
No, it was not a pleasurable act, which surprised me because whenever I read the books, the Mills and Boons,
It was something nice.
yes, people were so happy about it. It was,
they're having fun.
They were having fun. They were looking forward to it, and they were both in it, And they, but when I had sex, I didn't feel like we were both in it. It was, I felt separate.
Did you do it for him, whoever that is?
Yes.
Okay.
I definitely did it for him. I did not know that I could have sex for myself. This is something that
okay, because sex was never communicated in the way that it's fun.
Yes.
For
a person
both
like
people.
me. Yeah.
For a person like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it's fun for other people. And so, and as it always happens, when I had sex
for the first
for the
time,
very first time, very painful ordeal, I must say, I got pregnant. And of course, I did not know that I had gotten pregnant. Again, this is so obvious to me now, and it makes me sad that this is something that I did not know, that I can get pregnant just like that, that it's enough to have sex once and get pregnant. Some part of me knew that, but I did not have enough information about sex to actually understand what I was doing and how this might or might not affect me. Because again, in Kenya, at that point, you couldn't buy condoms. Me go to the chemistry and buy condoms, I would never have done that. I would have been so ashamed. Even the person selling the condoms will have told even my mom, what do you want to do with this? I will never have bought pills because one, I did not have money. Second, also so shameful. Why are you even thinking about these things? So it's better not to think about it. It's better not to show yourself that you're even thinking about sexuality than to be seen taking care of yourself, taking care of any form of your sexuality, of any part of it. It's better to have the consequences.
And you don't even think about the consequences anyway.
No.
Because I had sex a little earlier than you.
Really?
Really?
You're going to tell us about that, Carol. When did you have sex?
No.
Okay. I'll ask later.
You can ask later. But and it was not like you said, it was not willingly the sex. But like I said, it was a bit earlier. So when I hear you guys talking about after high school and all that, that is when you're having sex for the first time. I'm like, oh God. Yeah. I did not, when I was having the sex for the first time, I did not think about the consequences. Like, I have sex now, I would get pregnant. Like you said, there's no information.
Yeah.
You are not. Today, when I talk to my daughter, I tell her all these things. She knows these things. And, there's so much that we did not know.
Yeah.
That no one can blame us for such things.
And the other consequence, Carol, because I grew up knowing I'm ugly. I was even told by family members I'm ugly. I was even told even in church, I was told I was ugly. So even the having sex part, it was not something that was pleasurable for me, because I did not think that someone like me was even allowed to have pleasure. So the consequence of saying no, which would mean this person, on top of thinking I'm ugly, will also notice that there's something wrong with me. Why don't I want to have sex with them? This consequence, the shame that comes after saying no, I don't want to have sex.
You could not deal with
No,
that.
to me it was bigger than a consequence in the future that might or might not happen that I don't know. It was because it's like this in this moment. If I say, and I did say I don't want to have sex now, but that shame of, first of all, I even thought he is doing me a favor.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
So if he's doing me
By
a favor,
sleeping with you or having sex with you.
yes,
Yeah.
how can I now say I cannot say no? The consequence of saying no will have been more
sleeping,
shameful to
he's
me.
having sex with this ugly person,
Yeah.
the ugly person you thought
Yes.
you were.
Yes. When I think about that right now, I cringe. I cringe to even think about it. But this was me. This is how I thought, and this is how I felt.
And this is what he also told you. That's
Even the person I was having sex with also told me I was ugly. So even in that, even the act of me accepting that, it hurts me today, because I imagine that girl who is being told you're ugly, but
goes ahead and
yeah,
does this man a favor by
yeah.
sleeping with him, and then you get pregnant.
Then I get pregnant. And you know what he asked me? Whose is it?
And he noticed that you are a virgin when you were
Of
having
course,
this sex.
I don't think you can have sex with a virgin
And
not
not
notice
notice.
that this is a virgin.
Yeah.
But he still asked me whose it was. And so when I realized, because this story might be long, when I realized I was pregnant, the first thing I did was, of course, to panic. And then I told him, I'm pregnant. And when he asked me, whose is it? This is a story that I had known, that men do that. This is the idea of men I grew up with. I'm not saying men are like that. Please don't understand me wrong. I know they are good men. But this is a story I grew up with. If you get pregnant, it's your own problem. So even when he said that, I let it happen. I let it go. And I decided I'm going to take care of this on my own.
And taking care of it means what exactly?
Getting the child.
Okay.
In that moment, I thought, okay, this is now my problem. I'm going to deal with it. And I knew I cannot go to my mom, because I knew if I went to my mom, I thought she would kill me just by telling her that. I thought if I just tell her I'm pregnant, she was going to kill me. Because again, the shame. I grew up in church. If you're
you're not
pregnant
married.
and you're not married, how did you get pregnant without getting married? Because you are not to have sex before marriage. Everybody knows
So
that.
such bullshit.
It's total bullshit,
Yeah.
because everybody has sex before marriage,
Yeah.
but just don't have it.
Yeah. Don't
And
have the
if you
proof,
do,
because pregnancy is proof.
pregnancy
that-
is proof.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of the shame was also, my mom gave birth to me when she was young. And she also gave birth to me out of wedlock. And I grew up also with family members telling me I was a
How
mistake.
bad that. Yeah.
How bad that was.
Yeah.
So I grew up with this shame of, if you get pregnant before wedlock, it's so much traumatic shame
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
how could you? How could you make this mistake? So my idea of pregnancy was, it's a mistake. Don't get pregnant. So I was thinking of how I'll go to somewhere else, Okambani, or I don't know, just run away somewhere. Because
And go have your baby there.
and go have my baby there. Because to go back again, my mom, when she gave birth to me, she was chased away by her family.
Oh no.
She had to go and raise me somewhere else. So for me, this is what will also happen to me. She did not tell me that.
But that is what you were thinking would happen.
This is what I was thinking would
for
happen.
you, this was history repeating itself.
Yes. Yes. So how did I do that? After people struggled to take me to school, go to high school, how did I let the same thing happen to me that I saw bringing me and my family so much shame? Yeah.
So that was the shame. And I'm thinking, because the same thing also happened to me.
How?
And at 18, which
Wow.
is really crazy because you remember we were talking about it.
Yeah, you told me you were 22.
I was 20. I always said I was 22. That is a story I told everyone when I was at that point when I could speak about it. And I told it so often that I believed it myself. I believed I was 22 when I got pregnant.
Why
So
do you
when-
think that was important for you to be 22
Because
and not
18
18?
is very young and
Yeah.
shameful.
Yeah.
So I did not want to, I wanted to people to think I was conscious of what I was doing, because with 18 you're still young and immediately after school. So I wanted to sound like I was in at an age where I was capable of getting the kid and raising it. So that's the picture I wanted to create for people. And this is what I've been saying until we started preparing for this episode, and I was doing my math and I realized I could not have been 22. That is when you saw my reaction. That is when it dawned on me that I could not have been 22 when I got that
Yeah.
pregnancy.
Yeah.
So I was with this boyfriend who I had been with for some time, and then I came to know that he was married, which I did not know in the beginning. And I had a job that was actually paying well, and he had a good job. So, but for me, there was no this really family shame. Like you're saying, your mother would have killed you. That's what you thought. It was not that, because my relationship with my mother is very, very complicated. So it wasn't my first thought. My first thought was my brother, because I was intending to study. I had not studied anything
Yeah.
before that. I came from high school, and like so many things in my life, I started doing computer classes, and then I got a job. So it's like I almost had nothing. Then I got a job, and when I started earning my money, I got this boyfriend, and we were going out all the time, and I was like high life, really high life.
You were going out.
I was going out.
This is
and
something I never did.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
really, I was having a good time. And I did not care, because what we were doing is, and that is why I didn't even know that he was married. We were mostly not staying in Nairobi. It was weekend. We would go out to a different town and spend the weekend there, just have a
Wow.
good time.
Wow.
And sometimes we would drive. He had a car. We would drive to his place, but not to the house. And then he used to tell me his mother was living with him because he was sick. She was sick.
Oh.
So he was always like, would you want to meet my mom? And I was like, no, it's too early to meet your mom. I don't want. So I would remain in the car.
Yeah.
He would go to the house,
Yeah.
to where his wife was with the
Wow.
kids. But I did not know that.
Oh my God.
And I think I was also with 18, I was still so not
Naive.
experienced. I did not have enough experience.
Yeah.
So this guy had a wife at home. And I don't know what kind of a marriage was that, because we were almost away every weekend. We were somewhere else. So he had time. I could not have imagined that he had a wife at home.
Because he's always with you.
He was always with me. Even during the week, I would come from work, and on Wednesday, he would be waiting for me there. Then we would drive to town, we would have a good time. Then he would drop me at home at around midnight. And then he would go back home
to his wife.
So I could not even start to imagine that kind of, those men who cheat. And I don't know what he used to tell his wife. I
Maybe
don't know.
nothing.
Maybe nothing.
Maybe she was not allowed to ask questions.
That could also be. I don't know. So when I got pregnant, and then it was just after finding out that he had a wife.
Oh no.
And for me, even if it wasn't the issue of the wife, I knew that I did not want to get a child at that age. For me, it was so clear. I was reckless, of course. I could have used condoms. I could have taken pills. Or was I taking pills?
Was this something that was easy to get for you? Was it possible for you to actually use contraceptives, or did you know where to get these things?
Yes. Yes, I did. Maybe I chanuka kitambo kidogo.
Wow.
So it was not, I knew about these things.
I didn't. I had no idea.
Yeah, and also having this grown person, because he was older than me and he had experience in these things. So he would go and buy the pills. He would go and buy this. So it was not like I was using contraceptives, but I did not also know how to use them really well. So we drank, I forgot to take my pills, and then, yeah.
You were drinking?
Of course.
You had a very different life from mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was different. And that is 18. I drinking, I started a bit earlier. So I think
that story you will also tell us. You will tell us a story.
I think I started these things a bit earlier than you. I had access.
Yeah.
That I can say for now. I had access to these things, most of these things. So
yeah. You know, for me, the most important thing for me and my family was to go to heaven.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So there are so many things, Carol, the way we dressed, the way we walked, even the way we talked.
It was for heaven.
It was for heaven.
Meant to go to heaven.
Meant to go to heaven. Carol, even the visitors we had, we were very strict Christians. So things like drinking, things like party, things like sex, things like even the things
Short
I wear
clothes.
today. This, my hair like this.
You would not have had it in that
my
house.
nose piercing. Never. Could never have been allowed. It was very, very strict.
Yeah, this is where I see, although when we talk about poverty, the poverty was there for both of our families. But I grew up in a family that was very free, very not strict in any way. So there are so many things I tried out very early in life. Like I said, I grew up in Majengo, the slum, and I had access to so many things. And there was nobody like monitoring us. So I could try out things. I think some of these stories are for other episodes. That was never a problem, really. And so there was no religion. Like, we were not going to church. So the thing of shame from a religious point of view was not there. So for me, it was, I'm pregnant now. I'm thinking about my life.
Okay.
What happens when I get a child now? And that was not anything that I could live with. And then the fact that my brother was paying school fees for me and getting this job, although this job was paying well, I knew that if anything happened, that one I knew, if anything happened, and the way I got this job, I'll tell you in another episode, because it was very, very easy for me. Everything has moved very easy for me, thanks God. And but I had no qualifications. So if anything happens today, I'm out. Or if the boss who got me into that job leaves, I would have nothing to show. So I wanted to go back to school. And I knew if I got a child, my brother would not pay the fees for me. Yeah. And that is why, that is the only thing I can say that was in my thoughts with this pregnancy. Yeah. Different from yours, thinking about all these things, about your mother, about the church. So how was the reaction from the church and all that with the pregnancy? Or who did you tell? Or how did it come out?
So first of all, I didn't tell anyone. After a while, I was talking to the sister of my then, I will not call him boyfriend, the
impregnator.
The impregnator, yes. And the sister was like, oh, you can't keep the baby. What will you do? You can't keep the baby. And she's the one who advised me to go and terminate the pregnancy. So she took me to a small place where I was supposed to pay 500 shillings.
A small place means what? Is it a gynecologist,
No.
a clinic?
No. I don't know what that was. Even today, there's a time I went back there to go and see what that was. Because, Carol, my brain has totally deleted this phase of my life. I can't tell you specifically where I went, what I did. It's like it was there, but it's like it also never existed. So when I went there, I just remember a small place, very dark. This person was not a gynecologist, no. Maybe he was, but I can't imagine he was. And it was
But for
also
500 shillings, it cannot
I can't.
have
No,
been
I don't
anything
think so.
serious. Yeah. Yeah.
And when I went there and came out, nothing happened to me.
So you went there.
I went
What was
there.
done?
They put metals in me. I don't know what they did. I can't tell because I was trying as much as possible not to think about what I was doing. Again, think about the shame, think about the charge. And now this is me doing another shameful act.
Abortion.
Abortion.
Yeah.
This is another very, very shameful act.
Mm.
Now, you get yourself pregnant. This is how people say you get yourself pregnant, as if that's possible.
Yeah, you get yourself. The man is left out
The
of the
man
equation.
is left out of the question.
Yeah,
Even all this time, he's not there. He's not present.
It's
at
not
all.
its problem. Now
not his problem.
It's your problem on your
It's my
own. Yeah.
problem. And so when I went and they put things in my vagina, and I don't know what they did.
You
and
know
I was
what I'm
told to
loving
go.
about this podcast and this episode and these conversations? We are naming things.
We are
things
naming
we never
things.
used to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We yeah.
You never say vagina.
No.
How?
No.
These are not. You never say penis. You don't name these
Yes.
things.
As
But
if it's
here
not
we
part
are-
of your body.
Yeah.
As if
yeah.
it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this is how we were raised. We
were
give
raised.
We give these
It's
things all
shameful.
kinds of
Your
names.
vagina
Yeah.
is a shameful thing.
Yes.
You cannot talk about it.
Yeah.
And that is so.
It's
Okay.
so horrible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so horrible to attach so much shame to something that is God given. It's
Yeah.
it's
A
just
normal
horrible, and we need to
thing.
stop that.
Yeah, we need to. That's why we have to talk about these things.
Yeah,
we have
and
to talk
name
about
them.
this. Yeah.
So he put things in my vagina. The things I can't name them because I don't know what they were. I just remember they were metals. Nobody took me through the process. Nobody explained to me what was going to happen. I did not know. I just lay there. I felt things, cold things going inside. I felt cold things coming out, and I was told to go. And I
Just like
went.
that?
Yes.
So nothing really happened. Did something come out?
Nothing. Nothing came out. I did not bleed. I did nothing. Nothing happened. Nothing happened to my system. I
And
was
it told
expecting
you
something
after
to
taking
happen.
your 500 Kenya shillings, this is now done.
Yes. And I also did not know something was supposed to happen. So I went back home with the knowledge I am no longer pregnant.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, but then my stomach was still growing. My boobs were still growing. So, but I thought, maybe, I did not understand, Carol. I was not asking myself these questions. But my body was still very much pregnant. So now what?
But your mind was not. Because
My mind was
for
not.
you had already terminated it.
Yes. My mind was done with the pregnancy. And then, but still I'm throwing up. All these things. I used to throw up like that. For me, that was the worst feeling of this being pregnant and having to throw up all the time. And then one time, what now happened is I also started fainting. I would just faint. And because that time
You
I
just lose consciousness like that.
Yeah.
And just...
Yeah, this is also something that continued also here in Germany. I had a phase where I used to faint a lot. And finally, I got the help that I needed, that I will tell you with time. But at that point, my grandmother said, okay, let's take her to the hospital. So she went with
didn't
me.
know you were pregnant?
No,
Nobody knew?
nobody knew. Even me, I didn't know. I was not conscious about the fact that I was pregnant. So when I went to the hospital, the doctor asked me, are you pregnant? And I said, no. But Carol, even if I had been very sure I'm pregnant, I would never have said yes. I would never have said I'm pregnant. And so as it came out, I had malaria. I had a mixture of malaria and typhoid. I was
Oh my God.
very sick. I was extremely sick.
And that is what was causing the fainting.
This is what was causing the fainting. So I was given medication. Even there, immediately I fainted. I remember having to sleep in another room.
Oh.
My grandmother was waiting for me. And after that, we went home and my grandmother said, go home. And it was after this phase, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 days later. Again, I can't tell you the exact date. But I then lost the baby, I would say. The baby came out of my body.
After getting this injection and...
Yeah.
So it was not an injection intended to terminate the pregnancy. It's just chemicals that did something to your body that got
Yeah.
that baby out.
Yeah.
And how did you realize that it was out? What happened? Is there anything was there any one point where you felt like, oh, something went out? Here's a quick one to tell you about our sponsors, TDX Media. I've been working with TDX Media for about 5 years now, and this has saved my life, literally saved my life. TDX Media has a way of helping you to optimize your office work. So I am a very chaotic person. My office was looking like you can imagine it. And then TDX Media came and they really helped me to optimize the processes, especially the processes of how I work, what should happen when, they came and advised me. They came and sorted out most of my files and all that, because I am not that. And then my website, it's beautiful because it is being maintained, it is being serviced by TDX Media. And then the CEO of the company, Christian Tiedemann, who does all that, comes to you, advises you, he talks to you, he listens to your needs, and then crafts everything according to how you need it, but adding his professionalism in everything that he does, such that at the end of it all, and he will not use anything he doesn't think is okay for the person visiting your website. So if your photos are not good enough, then he'll not put them in. And that is the level of professionalism that I need when I'm working with someone, so that they just don't do everything I tell them to do. They tell me, okay, it's your website, but it has my name on it. So he will not do anything that is not professional enough. And the other thing is event management. Guys, these guys are so organized. TDX Media is so organized. They have taken control and over. They organize our African festival, which happens every year. So I have nothing to do with it. The first year I organized it myself. I almost went crazy. And nowadays I just get calls, or when we're talking, it's a yes, no, and I have nothing to do with it. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I love working with these people. I love the way they, present themselves in a way that is, I will talk about professionalism the whole time, because that is what they are. They are professionals. And you see that in everything they do. When they're doing consultations with you, they are very specific in everything that they're doing. You can only be satisfied when you're working with TDX Media. And I'm so glad that I have trusted us now to sponsor our podcast. And I've been working with them all this time, satisfied with their work. I'll continue working with them. So please visit their website, www.tidix.de. That's www.tidexx.de. Visit them, because you'll be doing yourself a favor. Thank you so much.
Yes. There was a lot of bleeding. There was also a lot of pain.
Alone. You were alone
yes,
at home?
I was at home. I was alone. And I did not want anyone to. It was at night. And it's an ordeal that went out through the whole night. And I think I'm not yet ready to say exactly how this day was.
That's okay, yeah.
But there was no mistaking
that it was out.
Yes. Yeah. There was no mistaking. Yeah.
And so what happened after that? Now the baby is out. Nobody knows about it, because nobody knew about the pregnancy. Nobody now knows that it has come out.
Yeah.
So where is the shame coming in? Because until this point, nobody knows anything.
Now the shame comes in because now after this, I was, I don't know, something happened to me psychologically. I was very scared. I felt so ashamed. And I used to even hear babies crying. I could not sleep. I was, it was a very dark phase of my life. And I decided to myself, and I was also losing a lot of weight. It was just a bad phase. So I decided I need prayer, because this is what I thought. I needed someone to pray for me, so that I could be released of this bad
Evil
evil
spirits.
spirit.
Yeah.
I wanted God to forgive me
Mm.
because I was so horrible to myself. The things I would tell myself, it was so bad. So I felt like I needed salvation. I needed to go and get saved again. And so it's what I did. I went to the pastor and told him, Pastor, I have sinned. This is what I've done. I got pregnant. I tried to terminate. It did not work. But now I don't have the baby. And this is what happened. And I feel ashamed. Could you please pray for me?
So you told him the whole story
told
that
him the whole story.
you had not told anyone. Yeah.
That I had not told anyone, that I had been hiding all this time.
Did you feel some kind of relief by telling him the story?
For a short while I was talking.
Okay.
But when I finished telling him the story, he told me, even God's mercies finishes. And if you sin like this,
What?
Even God's mercy, it comes to an end.
So this is not forgivable from God?
No, he even told me, he reminded me the story of the children of Israel. When God got so angry with them, all the children of Israel who left Israel, and I will never forget this story, they were not to see Canaan, including Moses. They never got to the promised land because they had sinned. So, and I tried to remind him, but doesn't he say somewhere in the Bible that God's mercies are new every morning? And he said, no, they finished. And he gave me the story of the Israelites.
Oh my.
And then I told him, okay, could you then still pray for me? He did not pray for me.
That's a pastor.
Yes.
You're going to for help, and then he's telling you God's mercies are finished.
Yes.
They come to an end.
He even told me about God's wrath and the punishment that follows you for 7 years.
So you'll be punished for 7 years for this sin.
Yes. And I went through 7 whole years thinking like this, Carol. This is not something that finished.
Of course,
then.
it's something that when you are religious, when you've grown up in this religion,
Yes.
it's something you believe, and it's something
Yes.
that tortures you for the whole of your life almost.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then I told them, okay, so if you will not pray, okay, could you please not tell my mom? Because somehow it was so important for me that my mom
Doesn't know about
it. Because I did not want her to be ashamed on my part for my sake.
Yeah.
I did not want her to feel this shame. So I told him, please don't tell my mom. And a few days later, he did not just tell my mom. He told the whole church.
Oh my God.
And then the whole church told their children. And I remember coming out, and there was a small girl. I will never forget. There was a small girl who was pointing at me and saying, it was me. Everybody knew. Everybody. Now, this very shameful story, and this is why it's so important for me to say it here, because it was so shame, and it was so important for me that nobody knows, not even my mom, that nobody knows.
And you're going to a pastor because it's somebody you're supposed to trust with your secrets.
Yes. And they told me not to go to church anymore.
They threw out of the church.
Yes. Yeah. And I was supposed
to... The church was not a place for you anymore because...
No. I was supposed to go home, be remorseful. I would get a letter.
For 7 years.
I don't even know. I didn't find out how long. Be remorseful about it, get this letter, and then come again in front of the church and tell the church I have seen the wrong of my ways and repent.
Oh my God.
And then I will be accepted back. And needless to say, of course I did not do this. I was so ashamed of myself. I never went back to the church.
You cannot stand in front of a crowd like that one.
No.
Talk about the most shameful thing you think you have done.
Yes.
And then stand in front of a congregation that is already judging you and thinking you are an evil person.
Yes.
And stand there and tell them how remorseful you are.
Yes. I couldn't. So I never went back to that church.
And this is a place where you're supposed to find refuge. This is a place where you're supposed to find comfort. Yeah. Even when everybody else has rejected you. The church is where you're supposed to find people who can
Solace.
embrace you, solace.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is why I got a very complicated relationship to church. Even today, I don't go to church. I only go to church to sing. And I also don't respect people just because they're pastors. I respect people because of what they say and what they do. Because I am so grateful that I came to this country. Because if I had not come here, I would have lived with shame, thinking I'm the worst person who ever did the worst thing in this world. But hearing people sharing stories and hearing so many people saying the same story, for me it was so healing, because I thought, really? Even you telling me your story, telling me that you also got pregnant.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, really? You too? Because I was in that space of thinking, I am the worst kind of
Person.
even God.
The wrath of God will follow you for 7 years.
Yes, even God will not forgive me. And when you respect people, Carol, I know it might be irrational for some of you when you listen to this, but if you've grown up respecting something and it means something to you,
Yes.
and church meant something to you, God has always meant something to me. It has always been so important for me to be close to God, to walk with God. Even today, this is the most important part of me. You also know even how I start my day.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
start my day with a walk to get close to my God. And I'm glad today that I've gotten to know a different kind of God who is not full of this wrath that I was told, the wrath of God. I don't believe that today anymore. But at that point, I believed that. And when you believe something,
And it was for you, it was your relationship to God goes through this pastor. It goes through the church.
Yes.
You did not think that you can have a relationship with your God
On
without
my
the
own.
church.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
didn't
that's
know
also
that.
how I am. I believe in God. I pray a lot. I'm not a religious person. I have a spirituality
Yeah.
that serves me.
Yeah.
And that is because of such things. Because such things make me so angry.
Yeah.
And other things too. And if you go to church, it's okay. If you find that is where you can be comfortable worshiping your God, that's okay. But there are some things that we should be able to question and not
Yes.
just blindly conform to everything, especially some people say. And even the Bible.
Even the Bible.
The Bible was written by somebody.
And translated.
And translated. And revised.
Many times.
And revised.
Yeah. And revised.
Yeah.
So even that, and this is why today I say I don't even believe anymore. I know. I know there's a God.
Yes.
And I know this knowledge is so strong that such that I don't even need to believe anymore. There's a knowledge in me.
Yeah.
There's a knowledge in me that tells me there's no way God will hate me and full of wrath for that. I don't believe that anymore. I believe there are consequences for things.
Yeah. There are consequences for things. Yeah.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
There are consequences for every action I take. I know there are consequences. But I know today, Carol, and nobody can tell me anything else. I know today that God never loves me more or less. Regardless.
You
and
are
this
his
is
child.
So important for me.
Yeah.
I am his child. I don't have children, but you love your children.
Yeah. Regardless of what they do.
Regardless of what they do.
Yeah.
You still love them.
Yeah.
There are consequences if they do something.
There are consequences, but I don't love them. And that is what I've always told my children from the very beginning. You are not a bad person. You did a bad thing. So let's separate the act from the person, because you are a person I love regardless of what. It doesn't matter what happens. My 100% remains 100% no matter what you do. And I remember there's a time my son was asking me, even if I went to jail, and I was telling him, I'll still love you. But I'll not condone what you're doing.
Yeah.
Even if you did something wrong, then I was teasing him, saying, if you did something wrong, I'll call the police to come and arrest you because it's wrong. But I'll still love you.
Yeah.
And I'll come and visit you in jail because I still love you.
Yeah.
So you have to know that my love is 100%, just like God's love is.
Yeah.
But if you do something wrong, there are consequences for that. Yeah.
And you carry those. And it's
Exactly.
okay. And it's
Yeah.
okay to make mistakes.
Yes.
And it's okay to get consequences for things. This is totally okay. And this is a knowledge that I did not grow up with. You know.
When we were talking about coming to Germany as an au pair, I remember you said there's something that wanted you to get out of the country. You pointed that out, and then you said you would talk about it in another episode. Was it one of the reasons?
It was the main reason.
It was the main reason.
Yeah.
You were running away from.
I was running away from shame. I was running away from this shame, and I knew I could not live there anymore. Either I came to Germany or I have had to go somewhere else. But with this, the whole church and the whole village, and just this shame of coming out of the house and being looked
and everybody
at like that.
they're looking at you.
Yeah. And you know, after that, and this is basically the end of this story, when my mom now heard this story, she was so sad. And she came to me and told me to sit down. And you know, those days when my mom said, Wambui, sit down.
Ikarade.
Yeah, ikarade.
Yeah.
That was always like, oh my God, what have I done? So during all this phase, whenever she said, sit down, I thought she was going to say that, but she did not know. She got to know the story from the pastor, with the rest of the church. And this day she told me, with so much love, she told me, sit down. And she told me, you know, if you had come to me, it wouldn't have gotten out to the village.
She would not have killed you like you thought.
No, she would have loved me.
Wow.
And I did not know that I did not have to earn my mother's love. Just like I don't have to earn God's love. I always thought I had to earn my mother's love. I have to be good. And she told me, if you had come to me, it would have still been okay. It wouldn't have been this painful. And this is why I wrote my mama song. You know, this song I always sing about mama. Because this song is also about communication. Because
how does it go? Just a little.
Just a little bit. It goes, nilieleza watu siri za moyo wangu, nilitaka understanding yao, huo nilitaka wanielewe, na pengine wanisaidie.
Oh, wow.
Siku zilizofuata, siri za moyo wangu zilijaa kijijini chote. Mama kasema, ungenieleza siri zako, mimi ningezificha.
Oh, wow.
Yena kasema, oh, ninakupenda wewe jinsi ulivyo, mimi nakupenda. Yeah, it's what she said.
Wow. Oh, that makes me teary.
Yeah. And it makes me shake. I don't cry, but I shake, you see. It's all the hairs of my body always stand, even when I sing that song. It was the first song I ever sang.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you had told me. And for me, it was not clear to me. She had never given me that feeling.
That you can always come
that
to
I
me.
can always come. It's not something I knew. So I didn't know. I knew only after this happened. And this is why I try. I don't have children, but even my siblings, I try today to let them know already now, before something happens, that I am that person.
You're available. They can always come to you.
Yeah.
Because this is, you know, why I find this so moving. It's because I did not have that person. I don't have that person. So it was also the because I told you there was no question about keeping the baby. So it was, for me, it was out of the question, because I knew my life would be ruined if I had so many dreams for myself and what I thought I wanted to do after all this. Of course, I did the mistake, and I take the full responsibility for that. Not taking my pills well, not, the having sex, I'm not ashamed about it, because, I felt like it was a part of life. So having sex was not a shameful thing for me.
Really?
No.
So would you say it was a pleasurable act for you?
It was.
Wow.
I was having fun with this boyfriend.
Wow, okay.
I was it's not always like it always is. There's also that thing of doing something or having the sex with a man in order to make him happy, because for me it's the hugging. When you hug me, I can do anything. Let's finish this thing, araka araka, and then you hug
And
me
then you
after
hug
that.
me.
Yeah. So I was also looking for a lot of love that I did not receive as a child. So if I have a man really holding me and hugging me, you can have everything else you want. And I have a way of disconnecting with this part of my body. That is a story for another day. That's a very emotional thing. No, we're not talking about that now. So it was clear for me I was going to terminate the pregnancy. And I did not even have the fear of anybody knowing about it, because I somehow knew nobody cared.
Oh, okay.
Nobody cared. Like,
nobody will be ashamed.
for me,
because
no.
nobody cared. Not
Because
because
nobody-
it was
no.
not shameful, but because
No.
this is even.
So I was thinking about my life and myself, not any shame that I would bring to anybody, and that is what I tell you a lot about this. I've always looked after myself. Like, I have to decide for myself what is good for me and what is not. I've had this responsibility since I was really, really young.
That's why you're thinking you were
looking-
22 when you're actually 18.
Exactly. I've always felt older than I actually was, because at a very young age, I was looking after myself. I was taking care of myself. So whenever anything happened, or even now, whenever anything happens, I know that I have to look after myself. I'm not even quick at asking for help, because I've always known how to take care of myself and look after myself.
You never
And that is
ask for
what
help,
even
Carol.
happens here when I'm working with Christian and I'm lifting everything, and I've always done things for myself.
Wow.
So this was me looking after myself and deciding what is good for me at this point. And the best thing for me at that point was to terminate the pregnancy, because I wanted to study after that, because I knew if I got there are families where, if I get a child, my mom will take care of this child. I can go back to school and study. My life will somehow still go on. But for me, that was out of the question. My life would not have gone on with that child.
Yeah.
So
At
I would
least
have
not this way, the way you wanted
No.
for yourself,
No.
for your life.
No.
It was not about family, society, church. It
No.
was you
Me.
thinking,
me.
my life should
my
not
life.
go on like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Wow.
And these are the decisions I've always have made for myself, my life. So,
Wow.
and the decision was kind of easy. Like, I have to terminate this. So I talked to him about it, and the fact that he had a family, of course, that was also,
It was in his interest.
it was in his interest. So there was no need for this child, not for me, not for him. And then we went, there's a place, I don't know, I don't remember what that place was called. There's a building in Afia Center. Now I know.
Afia Center, the green one.
Afia Center, yes, near the train
Nyayo.
station.
Asio Nyayo.
No.
Railway.
Railway, near the railway station.
Ah.
That place was known, I don't know how it is nowadays, it was known for abortions.
Really?
Yeah, so that's where almost everybody was going.
That's why it's called
you would see-
Afia Center,
Afia
like
there were so many
Gesundheitszentrum.
doctors. Yeah, there were so many doctors, gynecologists in that building.
Okay.
So you always saw women coming in and out. And because I did it, I knew exactly what, or most of them, what they were
Also
going
had
to do
come.
there. Yeah.
So there
So
was
it
no
was-
point in your life where you thought, I'm the worst person, I'm the only one who has ever done this.
No.
Wow.
Not for that. Other things, yeah. But for this pregnancy,
For this one, no.
it was not anything I felt ashamed of. I just did the thing I thought was best for me at that point. So I went in. It costed us about 5,000. I think he paid all of it, and I would have paid it for myself. And this is what I've always been able to do. Even men in my life, I've never given any man the power of thinking they are the ones to do something for me.
Wow.
So I can pay this for myself, but if you want, you can pay it also. So we went in, he paid for it, he waited for me. I went in, I got some tablets. I took them. I was to sit there for 2 hours. Then after 2 hours, I went in, and then it was cleaned. So these tablets, that's why I'm asking you are not given anything.
No.
They just put some metals in you.
Yeah.
Because you have to take in something for it to kind of remove the pregnancy. That's really for 500 Kenya shilling. Okay, that was cheap, I must say. I paid 5,000. And then after 2 hours, I got in. I was there for 1 hour. They cleaned everything out of my system. And then I was done. And we went, I don't know, to a hotel room, and we had sex after that.
You had sex after that?
Yes.
Wow. You see the way this is, because for me, from then on, sexually it was so shameful. I couldn't even have had sex. I don't think I could have be able to do it. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand the thought of having sex after that because I felt dirty. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I didn't enjoy it. It's not like I enjoyed the act in itself. Maybe it was even a way of saying thank you for him paying, using sex for these kinds of things. And yeah, we've had sex at some point in life where you're not doing it because of your own pleasure. You're doing it for some other reason. And that maybe was the reason.
Yeah.
And this is something, I'm so happy we're having this conversation, especially because of this realization that it was 18.
Yeah.
It was not 22.
You were so young.
I was so young.
You were even a year younger than me.
But I never felt young. Wambui, I was a grown-up with, I don't know, I don't want to go into this because this will, it's a topic I would want to talk about when I feel ready for it. I don't feel ready at the moment for that. But I was a grown-up at a very early age. And I never at any one point felt like, sex was wrong or there was no religion. There was nobody looking after me. There was nobody caring. Where are you? What are you doing?
When you say it like that, it sounds so empowered. But I think a part of me still thinks this is even sadder because it's so, nobody cares.
But I think I've never allowed myself to see it like that. Like sad. I've always wanted it to be from a point of I have the power, I can take care of myself, and not there's nobody to take care of me and feel sad about it. So I've always looked at it from a position of power and control and having control. And that is why for me, in so many things, even now, I have to have control. I have to be in control because that's the only thing I know.
Wow.
That's the only thing I know.
But don't you think it's possible to feel both? To feel compassion for yourself for that phase of your development, because you deserve it. You deserve to have someone in your life who cares. Even if it's, at that moment, it's just annoying that someone cares. But, looking at yourself as someone who deserves that and still appreciating this badass woman you are who takes charge and controls things. Like coming to a point where the one doesn't have to take the other away. Maybe, I don't know, with time.
Yeah, that's a process, and that's what I'm doing, and especially since I got kids and also started to live with a man I loved, like the father of my kids. It's allowing people, even here at work, when people tell me, Carol, say something, like, how I work with Christian, him telling me, you don't have to do that on your own.
Yeah.
Please ask me.
Yeah.
Please let me help you.
Yeah.
Allowing people to help me makes me feel less in control, make me feel, and then feeling like they're asking to help me because they think I'm not capable of doing it. And I cannot have that.
I get it.
So I feel like I had to really fight with myself to be able to allow somebody to help me, to be there for me.
Yeah.
And that's a process. And I've done that also through therapy. Just the act of, because I always think I'm self-sufficient. I can do everything. I can take care of myself. I can do this. But I also realize having these people in my life who are offering to help me, who are there for me, has made my life much more beautiful.
Yeah.
And I could cry now when I think about it. Because I've never allowed myself to have that.
Yeah.
And here you have people who are telling you, we are here for you.
Yeah.
It's something I never had.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's this control and coming to realize, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So that we can stop judging ourselves.
Yes.
Realizing I do this because I needed this to survive.
Yes.
You needed to control because you needed to survive. And when does your brain know, okay, I no longer need to control?
I no longer need that.
How?
It takes time.
How will the brain know?
Yeah.
Unless you constantly make the experience
yeah.
that it's okay now.
And you have people in your life that you can trust.
Yeah.
And trust that they'll not let you down.
Yeah.
Because that is also always the fear.
Yeah.
If I trust this person, I allow them to help me, and then they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of that. People just moving out of your life. And then you cannot trust people.
And me, I have this thing where I think if I trust them, they will want something from me. And I am so scared of that. I'm so scared of trusting, of letting people help me, because I'm scared I will have to pay back with my soul. This is also always what I felt like. I had to pay back, even with this sexuality. Paying back with your soul, really. It's paying back with things you don't have. So I'm very careful of people helping me, because what will they want in return? I have rarely made... Actually, it's not true. I've had so many people helping me just like that. But there's something in my head that always tells me...
they
you
want
will
something,
pay.
yeah.
You will pay back. And
But
how?
so I've realized, because I have now a few people in my life, like Christian, like Michelle, people who help you not because they want something from you.
They just want to
They're
help.
just doing it out of the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah.
And I did not know that.
Yeah.
I've almost never had that.
Yeah.
They don't need anything from you. They're just there for you as friends, as... Oh my God, this has gotten deeper than we intended for it to be. But I think it was necessary for us to talk about that issue of pregnancy, and I think about kids and everything surrounding that topic is something we'll talk about in another episode.
Yeah.
Because you said you could not imagine having a relationship after that, or sex after that.
Yeah.
But of course you got into other relationship.
Yes.
And how is your feeling about kids now? This is something I think when you're ready, we can talk about in another episode. When you're ready.
We can really explore that.
Yeah, we can explore that.
Yeah.
Because I have my 2 kids and I love them to death, and I cannot
I
imagine
love
the
them
love.
too. I love your 2 kids.
Yeah. So we've come to the end of this episode, almost the end.
Almost the end.
Yeah. And, we have now introduced another interesting
We have an interesting aspect to our episode.
To the end of the episode, where we thought we talk about so many things, and at some point we've finished the episode and we realize I could have asked that. And now we have said at the end of episode, we'll always have some kind of a hot seat question. Only one question that either Wambui will ask me or I'll ask her. And it's not a question to be answered with yes or no. There has to be context. But it's also allowed to say yes or no, or I'm not ready to answer this question right now. So Wambui is on the hot seat today.
It's me. It's my turn. Okay.
Wambui is on the hot seat today. And I was kind of thinking of starting mild, like not ask a very deep, after this deep conversation, not ask a very deep conversation. And my question for you is, so Wambui, in this nice restaurant of mine, I have set a very, very nice table for 6 people. And I will be cooking a fantastic meal for you 6 people. So, and I have, because I know how much you love this person, I have invited Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
Oh my God.
She is there. So who are the other 4 people you invite to the table? Who will fit into the conversation you'd want to have with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie?
You?
I'm cooking.
No, you have to be there.
I'll be there because, but I can, it's my restaurant. I can bring a chair and sit next to you.
So, oh my God.
So I'm not invitable. I am already there. I've invited myself.
You have invited yourself. You've set the table.
Yes.
I love Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
She's already there.
I love that woman. I love everything she has to
Yes.
say. If she's there,
I've taken that decision from, because I knew that is the
She's
first
already
person you would have said.
she's the first person I was saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is there. But now her being there affects the other people.
That's exactly. I'm not making it easy for you.
Gee. I would have Bessie there. Bessie is
Who is
my
there?
friend.
Yeah.
Bessie's a friend we went to high school with.
Yeah.
And we've had so many good conversations with her. I've always had good conversations with people because I love good conversations.
Yeah.
And I get rid of people very fast if they don't have good conversations with me. And Bessie is one of those people who, even when we were that team, we used to have deep talks about God, about literature. And then, so this will be Bessie. Then, who else would I invite to the table? With Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
Yes.
But I would not want to share the table with Chimamanda with too many people. You know
it's
me.
just 4. It's you.
Those are too many people. Maybe I will have 2 more.
But this is I'm setting the rules here because it's my restaurant, it's my table. I'm telling you.
Could it also be people I don't have as friends?
Yeah,
People
it could
I
be
wish-
anybody. It could be anybody.
It could be anybody.
Live or dead, that you would want to have a conversation with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
Oh,
Yeah.
then.
It doesn't have to be your friend. It doesn't have to be,
Okay,
yeah.
even if they're dead.
even if they're dead or alive. Sorry, I forgot that part.
You didn't say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I would love to have Paulo Freire. He's a person I love. He's already dead. He wrote about the pedagogy of the oppressed.
Oh, you love that book. I know. Yeah.
I love this book. It's about pedagogy. It's not a story, but he has a deep way of talking about things. And, I love books. So I would love Paulo Freire is there. I'm there. Bessie is there. You are there. I would also love to have, who else?
And I think you have to speak into the mic. Otherwise, we don't get to hear about all these people.
Yeah. Njeri.
Aha.
Dr. Rahab Njeri. This is also a person I know if we start talking literature,
She's there.
she will be there. And she will rock that conversation. We will have a good conversation. I just know it.
Yeah.
We will all love it. We will all love it.
Those are 3.
Those are 3. One more person.
Yeah.
One more person. With me, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Paulo Freire, Jerry. I have no one else.
You have no one else.
I can't think of another person for this conversation.
What if I invited Ngoge Wadiongo?
If you invited Nkugu Wathiongo, we'll have other people. But Bessie and Jerry will be there.
No, to this table. Do you think he would fit into that?
Totally.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, and I would love it. Gogo
Okay.
Wathiongo.
Okay.
Decolonizing the mind.
Yes.
Gogo Wathiongo will tell us about decolonizing
Because
the
I
mind.
think Ngowi Wadiongo and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, they have this similar topic.
And I love them both.
Yeah.
I love how they
Actually,
talk
I was
about
thinking you'd say
language.
that.
Yeah. I did not think about Ngogo Wathiongo. You're right. Yeah. I would love to have him there too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we're having Ugali with Chimamanda, me, Njeri, Bessie, and Gogo Wathiongo.
Yes. And I want to be a part of that
And
conversation. Thank you so much, Wambui. Thank you so much. This was a very deep conversation and I loved every part of it. And I think some or many of our listeners might be able to see their shame or see this story and maybe start moving away from these shameful ideas or this, that has been imposed on you that you don't have to feel and have. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Please share with your loved ones.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Exactly. Yeah. Because we love you and we need some love from you. Subscribe to our channel.
We do. Thank you so much for listening, for following.
Now we are going to eat. Bye-bye for now.
Looking forward. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, boy. Here we are.
Oh, what do we have here?
Next meal.
Wow.
So today I did a cream of cauliflower soup. So you have to hear me. Today I did a cream of cauliflower soup that I did with a bit of coconut milk and some potatoes just to get the cream, the creamy part of it. And I'm hoping that you will enjoy this meal. After such a deep conversation, we need something for
we need some strength.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Taste. Let me see your reaction before we.
Okay.
Yeah.
It smells delicious.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. Is it good? Is it good? Yeah. Yeah. Good. So thank you so much for watching. Now we enjoy our food here. I'll give you the recipe of this dish on my website www.chefcarolsshow.com. Just go and there are so many other recipes and I hope you enjoy it. Bye bye for now.
I love it. Just like that waffles.